Dash, giving all praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakakadash. What does it mean to be in the truth? You know, and this is very important because you see in this thing of ours where brothers will say, if you leave a camp or you get put out of camp, you pretty much leave in the truth. You falling out the truth. Brothers will say, if you miss a weekend on the highways and byways, you falling out the truth. Brothers will say all type of different madness to say if you fell out the truth or not. You know, truthfully, being in this truth, it's no such thing as being in the truth. It's a such thing as knowing the truth, right? So you are in the truth if you know the truth, right? And then based on your faith and based on you working out your own salvation and what the Lord has set for you, the Lord is going to determine, you know, when you're judged by your works, if it's enough, like it says in Matthew 25, I believe that starting at verse 31, if it's enough for you to enter into the kingdom of heaven or not, for you to go on the right hand or the left hand, the Lord's going to dictate that based on whatever the Lord wants. We can't tell you what the Lord is going to judge you based off of. We can give you a very, very like small outline, which we could just say faith in your works. But exactly why and how and what and where and what you did that pleased the Lord, that's not up to us as men. And men have to stop trying to put themselves in that place. So there's really no such thing as being in the truth, but it's more of a such thing as saying you know the truth, right? And then when you know the truth, what do you need to do with it? So this is going to answer that question. So this is 1 Timothy chapter 4, right? And let's just go straight to the point. Well, we can start from verse 1. It says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some should depart from the faith, right? So it's not where you were in the faith, because when they say that, then what it's making it is getting it close to say you were in a camp or you were in this group and then you left out. But that's not what it's saying. It's saying some should depart from the faith, meaning you had faith and then you gave up your faith, right? Giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, right? Because of these doctrines of devils, you know, that are very tempting to all of us, right? And it's seducing spirits. A seducing spirit may come on you. You're not immune to a seducing spirit coming among you. But it's what do you do, right? Do you react the way that Job did, right? Or do you just give in to it? Or do you might have battles with demons, right? But do you come out victorious over it? Do you come out still believing and still having faith? Right? It says, speaking lies and hypocrisies, having their consciences seared with a hot iron. Right? Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats which God has created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. That's what it's about. You got to believe and know the truth. That's the two aspects of what we call so-called if you in the truth or not. Do you believe in it? Right? And do you know it? Do you know it? Right? Once you know it and you believe in it, then that means that you're in the truth. Everything else, the boxes that they try to put around us to say, well, if you do this, or if you leave this group, or if you watch other people's videos and watch different camps, you're not in the truth. That's not biblical. That's not true. That's scare tactics. You simply in the truth is if you know this truth, right? And I say knowing the truth is pretty much break down to knowing that you're an Israelite, knowing that you got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, knowing the Lord's name, and having faith in those things. Those are the fundamental things. That's why we could come together with a such thing called unity camp, because we have these basic things where we agree on this name, right? Because that's a major point, is agreeing on that name, you know, because that's the name we pray to for salvation. So that's a big, that means something, right? Do you believe we have to keep the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our abilities? Whether one brother think that this law means this or that, that's doctrine. That's doctrine difference. The point is, do you believe that we need to keep the law to the best of our abilities, right? And having faith that the Lord going to do what he promised us to do, meaning having faith in the kingdom, having faith that the Lord is going to come back, having faith the Lord is going to save us, having faith and believing in those things, right? Because when you believe those things that was prophesied of the Lord, and you believe him, believing in the Lord. That's when you in the truth, right? It says, now I'm gonna keep going though. For every creature of God is good and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer. If thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things, thou should be a good minister of Yahushua Mashiach. So no, you don't have to become king over brothers. No, you don't have to become general over brothers. No, you do not have to become authority over brothers. It says, look, just put brothers in remembrance. So, so you just putting brothers in remembrance of these things, right? Which mean what? You just spreading the word. You just say, look, man, the Lord name is Yahweh is the Father's name. Yahushua is the Son's name. We supposed to be keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our abilities. If the Spirit is there for you to go deeper and start breaking down some of the laws and they receiving them at that time, then you go ahead and keep doing that, But sometimes they won't receive them during those times. But a month later, they'll come, what we say, into the truth. But they'll get knowledge of the truth, and then they'll start keeping those law, statutes, commandments as the Lord increases their knowledge more and more and more and more and more, right? That's what will happen, So, okay, so let's keep going. So it says, thou should be a good minister unto, say Jesus Christ, but Yahushua Mashiach, which that's a part of the truth, right? Of having, where did it say? In thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth, the name. That's a part of it. We know, right, that what's the truth? Well, we know the truth is that his mama did not name him Jesus. The letter J wasn't even being used during that time to give names, right? So we know that his shit, man. It's like, about that. I got people calling me left and right, but knowing the truth is knowing that couldn't have been his name. His name wasn't given to him in that language. So, of course, even if they want to say that's a translation of his name, it's not the name that his mother gave him, right? And then once you know the name that his mother gave him, because Christians, it's hypocritical. Like you said in verse 2, that they're hypocritical, they speaking lies and hypocrisy, because if you say you know the name, well, the moment you know the name, why don't you use that name? Why don't you pray to that name once you know it? Once you know that if you say Yeshua is his real name, then why don't you start praying to that name? Why don't you go by that name? And then you speak on Jesus when you trying to break something down, or you reading the Bible, you may say the word Jesus, but you may say, hey, I'll pray to the name Yeshua. But they'll be such big hypocrites, because they'll say they know that the name is Yeshua, but then they still pray to the name Jesus. So that shows that they're in a religion. They're in a man-made religion. That's the reason why they pray to that name, and they're stuck on holding that name, right? Now let's keep going. Another precept. I got another precept. Right. So when it said that, you want to put brothers into remembrance, and then you will be a good minister. That's the goal, is to be a good minister of Yahushua, right? So you know the truth, right? And you have faith in that knowledge, and you got faith in that truth. That's considered knowing the truth, or what we would say today, being in the truth, right? Now let's keep going and give you even more of an example of putting brothers into remembrance. How do you put brothers into remembrance, right? This is Zechariah chapter 8, right? Verse, let me see. Let's just start at verse 14. For thus say the Lord of hosts, as I thought to punish you when your fathers provoked me to wrath, say the Lord of hosts, and I repented not. So again, when I have thought in these days to do well into Jerusalem and to the house of Judah, fear ye not. It says, these are the things ye shall do, right? So it started off verse 14. It says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts. So it's saying, look, verse 16 is saying, look, these are the things that ye should do. So these are the things that it's going to consider if you know the truth, if you in the truth, or whatever, however you want to say it, right? Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. So this is in the Old Testament, just like in 1 Timothy 4. In the New Testament, it's saying the same thing. Look, put brothers in remembrance of this truth. So it's saying the same thing right here. Look, speak ye every man truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. So all it is saying, look, keep these law, statutes, and commandments. That's the judgment. Right? You judging things based on the law, statutes, and commandments. You judging if you should eat the swine based on what the law, statutes, and commandments the Lord gave us. Right? Because our ancestors, like I said, You know, when the Lord did in verse 14, they provoked him to wrath. How did they provoke the Lord to wrath? Well, our forefathers, they provoked the Lord to wrath by not following what he told them to do, which is called the law, statutes, commandments. So how do you provoke the Lord to not have wrath on you? Or like it says, to do good unto thee. Well, by doing what he told you to do, by keeping his law, statutes, commandments. So that is the truth, right? That's the truth that you're speaking to every neighbor. You're speaking those law, statutes, commandments. You're not speaking of yourself. You're not adding or taking away. You speaking what the Lord said. You tell them, this is what the Bible said. This is what the word says. You know what I mean? So, and then you executing that judgment of truth and peace in your own gate. So even when you at home, it makes you unable to be a hypocrite, because you're not only telling people the truth, but you're also living it too at home. So you would tell a brother, hey, you can't eat pork, you can't eat lobster, shrimp, crab. But then at home also, you're not eating pork, you're not eating lobster, shrimp, and crab. You see what I'm saying? So you'll be a hypocrite if you out there telling it, because you got guys that's done this for tens of years that go out and they'll tell brothers the truth, who out the bam. But then at home, they're not following. They'll tell brothers, hey, you can't be committing adultery, y'all. But then at home, they're committing adultery with somebody's wife. That makes them hypocrites. So what the Lord is saying, look, you gotta, spread this truth, put your brother into remembrance, right? But at the same time, you gotta live it too. That's considered being in the truth. Just that simple. And there's many different ways that going out on the highways and byways is a form of spreading the truth. The YouTube is a form of spreading the truth. Just talking to brothers when you out in the public and you run into a brother and you break the truth down to him, that's a way of spreading it. That's a way of being in the truth. And then keeping those law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability, yourself in your own gates, that's a part of keeping truth. And then to wrap all that in together is having faith in those things. That's considered being in the truth. Everything else outside of that, hey brother, hey Ak, if you don't have black on your garment, right, you're not in the truth. That's not true. You see what I'm saying? Now you might say, well, the law, statutes, commandments do it. Then you have to go to where law, statutes, commandments say that you have to have black in your garment, or that you have to have this group name printed on your garment. You have to do that to be in the truth. Those are man-made things, right? So of course it's all gonna go back to, what does it say in the law? And that's how I always operated, speaking of myself, you know what I mean? If there's a dispute, or if you got an opinion of something, or if your doctrine, or if you learned this from your teachers or whoever taught you, whatever it is, what does it say in the law? You know what I mean? We could come to a conclusion of the matter by simply going to the law and seeing what it's saying. But now I understand you got some groups that saying, hey, like some say you can have multiple wives, some say that you can't have multiple wives. So what do you do in that? Well, I would say go to the law, and then you would say, well, and then that's a good cut, because you know the guys that saying you can't have multiple wives, well, they're gonna go to a part that's not the law. They're gonna go to, you know, a man saying this, a man saying that for that time, or a man giving you his opinion, which is Apostle Paul, which is not saying that it's a bad thing that he gave his opinion on other things, or that those things can't be convenient for you. Not saying that, but we saying, hey, the law comes above all that, right? Because if we're just going to follow what we see man doing in the Bible and make a whole doctrine off that, well, then Peter denied the Lord 3 times. So is it okay for us to deny the Lord? Well, we say that Peter's going to be in the kingdom. Peter denied the Lord 3 times. So we seen Peter deny the Lord 3 times. Is it okay if we get in a situation and Esau gets you, right? And it might be different opinions on this one I'm about to say. And Esau gets you in the FEMA camp, and he's trying to force you to deny the Lord. Is it okay to deny the Lord because Peter did it? Me, I'm going to say no, right? I'm going to say, look, I'm gonna take the route of what's that? Second Maccabees. Is that Second Maccabees? Yeah, maybe Second Maccabees or First Maccabees, chapter 7, with the 7 brothers that was forced, basically the same thing. They was forced to eat the swine, and since they didn't eat the swine to death, right? They all got put to death one by one. Some hideous like things that like tongue getting cut out and the mouth and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm under. And then Eleazar, the chapter before that, where it's same thing with him. He wouldn't eat the swine, even to death. You know what I mean? So that's more of the terms that I'm on, right? So just because you see a man do something in the Bible, that don't mean that you go make a whole doctrine off, or you see a man say to do this. So what do you have to do? You have to go back to what the law said. The reason why the 7 brothers did not eat the swine all the way to death is because what the law said. Leviticus 11, what that said. That's the reason why they were willing to give up their life, to prove their obedience to the Lord. Job didn't just give up. Job didn't just deny the Lord. So we got a conflict there. You see what I'm saying? So you can't just go off what you've seen a man do in the Bible and then make up a whole doctrine off that and say, well, this man was saying that it's better if we don't have multiple wives, so you can't have multiple wives now. You can't do it. You got to go back to the law comes first, because we got Peter denying the Lord 3 times, but then we got Job not denying the Lord when he was suffering. So which one do you follow? Which one goes over? Well, of course, the law, statutes, and commandments. Whatever's in the law, statutes, and commandments, what they call the Torah, that's what it is. That's what you got to go with. So with that, I'm going to say salvation to the elect. Shalom.